to the review for Knock Harder. Oh, look at this. It would seem as if we have another difficulty to beat the game at. Wake Up difficulty. Though I suspect that's actually hard difficulty, just renamed. I guess this means that the ending we got together is actually not the true ending, but a dream in itself. And we'd have to do it again in order to get the correct ending of the game, or the true ending, as it were. But I think that we're done with this one, because it's kind of repetitious. And so I figured we'll stop here and we'll go ahead and do the review after all. And so, to that end, we'll talk about this for maybe a minute or two before we start the review. So, I like reviewing the games that I'm currently playing, and I do this at the end of the video series. That will occur either when I have beaten the game, played it often enough that I have a good feeling for it in the case of a shorter game like Knock Harder, or I get to a point where the bugs and glitches are so frustrating that I simply am not in the mood to play it any longer, and I will not finish it. In the case of Knock Harder, I'm glad to say that I've really enjoyed this game, and we'll see that reflected in the score as we go forward. So, to that end, down in the comments section, I will try to put a comment down there which will have most of this or the details of what I'm covering now via me speaking in text form, in case you want to go ahead and read about it. You can see all the different categories that I grade a game on, and the point spread for those categories. Alright, so with that said, let's go ahead and cover Knock Harder, shall we? So, as usual, the first thing I think of when I play a video game is the video. After all, this could be a book otherwise, or something of that sort, or maybe a board game. And so, the graphics. On a scale of 0 through 3, I give Knock Harder a 2. The game looks good, and everything is clearly visible that needs to be visible. And it's very important in this game that that's the case. Because in this game, if you can't really see what's going on, or if you couldn't see what was really going on, then you might not be able to tell what's different versus the dream and reality. For example, zombies have parasites on their faces, but one of the hints in a dream is that they're actually lacking those parasites. Your bullets could float in the air instead of falling to the ground like normal bullet shells would do. Your character may not have a shadow when he normally does, for example. And there's other small hints that you are in a dream that you might not notice if the graphics weren't as decent as they are. So I was very happy with the graphics of the game, and it's going to get it too. For the sound of the game, the sound isn't anything special to write home about. The shotgun sounds like a shotgun, but it lacks the oomph of the one in Doom. Electrical panels sizzle, the generator makes generator sounds, cupboards and desks and drawers open up and make satisfying sounds. But, it's good. And the sound effects in particular that you have to pay attention to tell if you're dreaming or not are dead giveaways. Well, in some instances they're not. But generally, you can tell that if you're in a dream or not by listening to some of these sound effects, like picking up bullets, and then they don't make that clinking sound, you know that you're in a dream. Or if you reload and your character doesn't do the reload animation, and you don't hear anything reload, but your weapon reloads anyway, again, you're in a dream. So I thought the sound was good, but not phenomenal, so I'm going to give it a 1 on a score of 0 through 2. For the music, there's nothing really to write home about for the music. In fact, I thought it was kind of odd. The normal music for the game is kind of sad-ish sounding. I myself prefer the tracks that you hear me playing for the game. I swapped out most of the music in the game for different tracks from other games. We're listening to Helltaker's Vitality track at the moment while I play. In fact, I went and replaced all of the music in the game for the find out if you're in a dream or a reality to this song. I like the idea of something that, it sounds like a bit like a clock, especially at the very beginning. And I wanted to feel the pressure that you're on a time limit. Time is running out. Be quick. And so I think for the music, on a scale of 0 through 2, I'm going to give it a 1. I kind of wish the music was more faster paced in the base game. But the music's not beeps and boops, it's not computer sounds, and it has music, so it's not going to get a 0. For the story, well, on a score of 0 through 3, our protagonist's story is rather simple. He's fighting an infection from a head crab, or at least that's the story so far. I suspect that if I was to beat Wake Up difficulty, I think we get a different ending, and it might actually probably explain what actually is going on to us and the world a little bit better. Now that I heavily suspect that the ending we got in hard mode was actually a dream. In any case, well, the story changes in the game itself depending upon the hints that you get, right? So, it's really just a story of our protagonist that remains consistent, and there's not really much to it. I always feel a little weird when I give a game that doesn't have a high, like a big amount of story, a low story score, but all the games I grade, they're graded amongst each other, which means that this game has to compete in story, with its story, to games like Planescape Torment, or its world has to compete with Disco Elysium's lore building for its world. And, well, yeah, it's not the same as those. So on a score of 0 through 3, the game's going to get a 1 for its story. For gameplay, the gameplay is amazingly solid. I go so far as to say that if you like... A long time ago, there were comics in newspapers, and maybe they still exist. And in most of the papers that I read when I was growing up, they had this little, they had 2 pictures in them. The pictures were very similar to each other, but there were differences in one compared to the other. I don't know what those were called, those little puzzles, but this is basically that. Only there's one, maybe two differences between reality and a dream. And if you guess incorrectly, you're dead. You have to be fast in the game. But if you leave doors open, you don't take the time it takes to shut them, you can very easily be overwhelmed by the amount of enemies that are spawning and looking to kill you. You need to be quick when you run through the rooms to search things, but not too quick that you might miss what the hint is. You have to quickly glance at all the notes, books, and objects that you can interact with to see if the hints in them that you're dreaming. But on that same note, you need to pay attention to them, or otherwise you're going to run back and forth to the same hint in order to make sure that, well, did it match up? Did the dates match up? Did the girl kill the husband and cover him with the blueprint? Is she dating the scientist from 500 years ago? Because that's a hint you're in a dream. It's really well done. I cannot believe a game like this hasn't been created. It's a wonderful novel idea, and I really like the gameplay of this. And so I'm going to, on a 0 through 3 for the score, I'm going to give it a 3. It does a really great job. I really like this game. For the GUI and controls, I give it a 1 on a score of 0 through 2. The controls feel pretty natural, although I do wish some things were easier to do. The doors in particular, it seems like you have to be just at the right distance and or right angle in order to close a door. It seems a bit odd to me. Especially the door that leads into this room. I have a lot of trouble from the south, or yeah, from the bottom. It's very difficult to get that door shut. I also wish that you could swap guns a bit more easily than how this game does it. Because instead of, I would like equip the shotgun, equip the Uzi, rather than a weapon cycle button. I think that would probably have been better. So, yeah, it gets a 1 on a 0 through 2. It's not terrible. It's just, no, I wish things were a little different. Now, next, you can lose points if the game is grindy with the way I rate games. And this game, there's no grind to it. I mean, you can see what the main gameplay is right here, and assuming you like it, you will like the combat as well. The combat actually, I think, is really nice because you want to kill these creatures as fast as possible so you can clear the room safely, because if you're in reality and one of these creatures kills you, that's the end of you. And, in fact, I believe that if you don't find the hint that you are actually in a dream on... I know it on hard difficulty. I guess Wake Up would also apply to that. And on normal as well. If you don't find that hint, like you don't interact with the thing and you're killed by a creature, the game will just make it so that you were in reality and you'll really die. So it becomes very important for you to run through all these rooms and search for things. But in any case, the game has no grind to it. So I don't feel like I need to kill creatures to get more powerful. And in fact, when it comes to ammunition, the only thing I could think you would want to grind for, thankfully your companions are killing zombies to the far right and left inside this house. So you can spend a few precious seconds, like 20 seconds or so, clicking on all the bodies and grabbing all the ammo in case you run a little bit low on it. For bugs and frustration with the game, I have encountered no bugs. However, there's a problem, I think, with some of the translation. There's 3 hints that I constantly fail to find, and I'm not 100% sure what the answer is to those hints. The leprechaun will say, like, the 3 hints, one is with digital storage devices. I've only recently begun to suspect that it's not this safe that he's talking about right here. I suspect he's talking about the USB sticks. I think he also mentions at some point, like, you should check your arm, it can get to a place that you can't normally reach. I don't understand what that's trying to hint about. And the last hint is something about the windows being barred, and he thought there would be more windows than what the note said. And I don't understand what the hint's trying to tell me that I missed. And so that's a bit frustrating, because those three hints that I'm in a dream, I have consistently failed to find out what they are. And so they always kill me. That's a bit frustrating. That's very frustrating. There's also a few hints in the game that you're in a dream that you probably won't figure out is actually a hint until it kills you at least once. An example is this room. The light right there on the left, if that's where the phone is on the table to the right, then you're in a dream. Now, that's a bit harsh because realistically, there's no reason for that to be the case. Like, this house could have had the light on the right and the telephone on the left. But I suspect the way the game works is that anything that you saw when you were in the tutorial is actually in the house. And if it doesn't match that, then you're in a dream. So, for example, one of the hints is that closet we had just come out of with the broken electrical panel, sometimes that panel is not broken and it is lit up in that room. That's a hint that you're in a dream, because in the tutorial, that is actually broken. And that's different as opposed to, say, the house having 2 windows or just 1 window, because you can't get into the metal locked door in the tutorial, which would be reality. So the house could actually have 2 windows, you just didn't see it because you couldn't get into that one room. So that is, I think, it's a bit harsh to learn that. I know I've died, I think, 3 or 4 times discovering things of that sort, but other than that, it's really good. But I'm still going to dock -1 point because of the translation issues. I feel a little bit bad about that. I believe the person who made this game, the developer, I believe he's not American. I want to say he's Russian, but he might not be. But I think he is from over there somewhere across the ocean where Russia used to be, if not in Russia itself. Next, how well is the game balanced? Well, I think and I've been very lucky recently, because I think this game is very well balanced as well. Each of the difficulties ups the ante very nicely. You get a little more time. You get a little more time to figure out if you're in a dream or not, because you have more rooms to search. And you get more weaponry. The enemies get harder as well, and there's different types of them. They require slightly more damage to be dealt to kill them, and you get slightly less ammo when you kill them in return. I think it's incredibly well done. And the hints you discover will be dependent upon the difficulty that you're doing as well. Obviously, if you play on easy, there's far less hints that you have to worry about compared to hard mode, compared to normal mode, and what have you. So, I really think the game is incredibly well balanced. It gets 2 out of 2 points there for me. For my thumb on the scale, this is my bias. This basically makes up for, like, this does or doesn't add points to the score based on other scores I gave it. This is like a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe this this category. I've been failing to try to describe this category very well. This is kind of where I add some granularity or take it away, depending upon how much I enjoyed the game or not. So, despite the few hints that I still can't figure out, I do like this game. The idea in particular is so well done. It's brilliant, and the execution is perfect, I really feel. I've put almost 20 hours into this game. I think the average person who's played it on Steam has played it for a total of like 3 to 4 hours. Probably once the game is beaten, most people probably won't revisit it again, but I really like it so far. So I find myself picking up this game and playing it whenever I get a chance to do so when I'm busy compressing something. I probably need to force myself to stop so I can begin working on some other games. But I'm gonna give it the 2 points. I think it's good. And for the awesome ending, this is a really difficult point to get from me. Many of the games I have played, even if I like the ending, it doesn't get the awesome ending point. For this one, while I have a hunch that there's a different ending than the one I got, like the true ending if you beat Wake Up Mode, the ending on Hard was hilarious. I loved it. It made me laugh, and that doesn't happen very often. I did not expect that ending whatsoever. And so, because I'm going to have fond memories of that ending probably forever, congratulations, Knock Harder. You earned this one very coveted point from my scoring system. So, unless I've done my math incorrectly, Knock Harder on a scale of -7, which I don't think any game's going to get -7. That would have to be the most miserable game ever, to a 20, which is the perfect game, which I have never played. Knock Harder gets a 13. It's very similar to those spot the difference games we used to have in newspapers, with a timer on it, and also that you're attacked by zombies and head crowds while trying to find the difference, and if you fail, you're dead. Unless, of course, there wasn't a difference, in which case you say, there is a difference, and you kill yourself anyway, in which case you die in real life. It's wonderful. You can beat this game in 15 minutes on easy mode, probably even less than that. Sometimes you might be in reality as early as the 3rd dream. Normal, I've gone up to about 12 dreams, and on hard, which the only time that I've played hard so far was with you guys, I think the longest there was 13 total dreams, and that would take about 30 minutes or so. I suspect it can probably go farther than that, so I would imagine that all told, probably anywhere from 5 minutes to about 45 minutes, depending upon the difficulty that you're doing and the randomness of if the game decides if you're in reality or not. And the only times I ever felt really cheated are due to translation problems. But once I begin to realize what the hint is, hopefully I will not have those issues ever again. Yeah, so I can totally recommend this. If you're looking for a fun game, and you're willing to spend like 15 minutes, let's say on average, maybe 20 minutes on average to have a fun puzzle type of game, a brain teaser, it makes you think and try to pay attention to things, notice differences very quickly. I like this. Lastly, by the way, I believe this game has a free mode. I have the paid-for version here, which offers more dreams, more hints, more enemies, and I think different types of weapons. I'm not quite sure. I think the Uzi isn't in the free version, but the shotgun is, and I like it. So if you want to try it before you decide if you want to buy it or not, go and grab the free version. And I think this cost me like $10 all told. And I've gotten 20 hours in it. Yeah, that's been worth it. Absolutely. So, that does it. And holy crap, I beat the game. Look at that. Well, this is normal mode. So, normal mode is becoming too easy for me. I probably should start playing the game on Wake Up. In any case, I'm babbling. Thank you guys for watching this. And hope it was helpful. And I will see you guys in the next game, whatever that is. Take care, everyone. And thanks for watching.